You ever wake up, check your phone, and just say, wait, what? That was every Knicks fan a few mornings ago. Because out of nowhere, New York just fired Tom Thibodeau, the guy who literally gave this franchise its best run in over 2 decades. Just a few days after falling in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, they pulled the plug. No slow transition. No, we're evaluating our options. Just boom, he's gone. And here's the wild part. Thibs wasn't just a coach, he was the coach. The face of the Knicks turnaround. 4 playoff appearances in 5 years. Back-to-back 50-plus win seasons. A gritty culture. An actual identity. So what gives? Why fire the one guy who made them respectable again? Well, that's exactly what we're about to break down. Oh, and while we're at it, hit that like button if you've ever yelled at your screen during a Knicks game, and subscribe if you want the real stories behind NBA moves, not just the press releases. Because this one's personal. Now look, on paper, this doesn't even seem like a conversation. The Knicks just had one of their best seasons in forever. They made it to the conference finals. That's huge, right? Well, not in New York. Because here's the thing no one likes to admit. This team wasn't built to just make a run. They went all in. Maxed out contracts, traded away future picks, pulled in big-name players. The message was clear. Win now, not be decent, not surprise some people, but go get the damn ring. And when you look at it through that lens, suddenly a 10-8 playoff record and getting bounced by the Pacers doesn't feel so magical anymore. Especially when you've got a front office breathing down your neck and an owner like Dolan who's allergic to patience. It's not about what Thibs accomplished, it's about what he didn't. And when a coach feels like he's hit his ceiling, even if that ceiling is pretty high, sometimes teams make the brutal call. And yeah, Vataina, this was brutal, but it wasn't random. And honestly, that ceiling, it was low-key starting to crack. If you watched the Knicks this year, really watched, you saw it. The offense was predictable. ISO here, ISO there. Jalen Brunson or Karl Anthony Towns doing everything while the rest of the guys just kind of stood around. Sure, the Brunson KAT pick and roll had its moments, but that was it. No motion, no versatility, no layers. Just rinse and repeat. And what's wild is this team actually has guys who can play in a real system. OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges. These aren't one-dimensional players. These are dudes who've thrived in fluid, modern offenses before. But under Thibs, they were basically watching from the corners. At some point, it stopped feeling like a strategy and started feeling like a limitation. You could almost hear it in the crowd during those dead possessions. People felt the offense stalling. And when you've got playoff-level defenders scouting your every move, that kind of predictability, it'll get you sent home early. Now, here's where things really start to unravel. Because if there's one thing Thibs was supposed to own, it's defense. That's his brand. That's the reason he got this job in the first place. So, what the hell happened? The Knicks weren't a top-tier defensive team this year. Far from it. They had stretches, long ones, where they just couldn't get stops. And it wasn't just about effort. It was about structure. Thibs kept forcing lineups that didn't work, especially with KAT at the 5. Look, we all know Towns isn't exactly locking anyone down in the paint, but the idea was, maybe Thibs could cover for that. Scheme around it, adjust. But he didn't. Game after game, same issues, same mismatches, same breakdowns. And behind the scenes? Yeah, there were talks. Rumors of internal frustration. Players not buying into the way things were being handled defensively. Some of it aimed directly at KAT. Some of it quietly aimed at Thibs himself. So ask yourself this. If the offense was stuck and the defense, his calling card, was slipping, what exactly was Thibs still doing better than anyone else? That question right there might have sealed his fate. Here's the part no one puts in press releases. But if you watched close, you felt it. Something was off with this team. Yeah, they were winning games, but it never looked smooth. It never felt like everybody was pulling in the same direction. And that's the thing about high-level NBA teams. They're not just a collection of talent, they're ecosystems. And when the energy's off, you can see it in body language, in late closeouts, in guys not trusting each other on switches. Behind the scenes, word started leaking out. Not everyone was happy. Some players were reportedly frustrated with their roles. Others felt like they weren't being used the right way. And when you have a coach who keeps his circle tight, who trusts his guys and leans on them heavily, that divide just grows. You bring in stars like Bridges and OG and KT, not just to fill jerseys, but to expand your identity. But it never felt like they were integrated. It was more like they were dropped in and told, fit into this system or get out of the way. That wears people down. And at some point, it wears a team down. You start asking, are we losing because we're not talented enough or because we're not aligned? At this point, it's not just about basketball, it's about investment. Because the Knicks didn't just casually build a decent roster, they cashed in everything. They traded multiple first-round picks for McCall Bridges. They gave OG Anunoby a massive contract. They extended Jalen Brunson. And last offseason, they added Karl Anthony Towns and his monster salary. So you've got what? 4 guys making star-level money. A starting 5 that, on paper, could go toe-to-toe with anyone. And yet, they couldn't get past the Pacers. Let that sink in. This isn't a rebuild. This isn't give it time. This is a fully loaded win-now roster. And when that kind of money is flying around, patience goes out the window. The front office looked at the roster, looked at the results, and had to ask, is the problem the pieces or the one putting them together? And let's be honest, swapping out one coach is a whole lot easier than blowing up your entire investment. That's the cold math behind it. All right, so if Thibs is out, who's supposed to be in? That's the million-dollar question. Actually, scratch that. Probably the $10 million question. Because whoever takes this job isn't walking into a rebuild. They're walking into a minefield of expectations. Win now. No excuses. So names are already flying around. Michael Malone just got let go by Denver, but he's a champion, a leader, a guy players respect. Frank Vogel, one with the Lakers, knows how to handle big personalities and playoff pressure. Even Mike Budenholzer is floating around, though going from his 3rd team in 4 years feel shaky. Some fans are even dreaming about Jay Wright from Villanova. No NBA experience, but hey, the guy knows how to win and build a culture. And of course, you'll always hear that one Knicks fan yelling, "Bring back Van Gundy." We love you, man. Stay loud. But here's the thing. Whoever they pick, that person better be ready on day one. There's no year to figure it out. There's no, let's see how the team gels. The job comes with one assignment. Take us to the finals, fast. And honestly, that might be the toughest part of the whole situation. Here's the truth. This move is either the smartest thing the Knicks have done in years, or the one they'll regret for the next decade. There's no middle ground. If the next coach comes in, unlocks this roster, and brings the title back to New York, then yeah, Leon Rose looks like a visionary. Thibs becomes a stepping stone. And we all act like we saw it coming. But if this backfires, if the next guy can't manage the egos, if the offense doesn't evolve, if the chemistry gets worse, then fans are going to look back at this moment and say, that was it. That's when we had something, and we threw it away. Let's not forget, before Thibs, the Knicks were a punchline. He brought respect. He brought structure. He brought playoff wins, something this franchise barely tasted for 2 decades. So yeah, this was risky, but that's the nature of chasing greatness. The only thing we know for sure, the pressure just doubled. Whoever walks into that locker room next better be ready. Because in New York, you don't get time. You get a spotlight. And one shot. So what do you think? Was this bold or boneheaded? Drop your take in the comments. Smash that like button if you're still with me. And if you want more real NBA breakdowns like this one, subscribe and stay locked in. Because this Knicks story, it's just getting started.